Welcome to Middle School's Back to School Night for Mathematics 2020. My name is Sheena Nagia and I am the Department Lead for Mathematics in the middle school. We are excited to meet you and to talk to you about our mathematics program. Should you have any questions, there is a Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. Please allow one question per comment. We may hold off answering some questions if we know that they'll be discussed during the presentation. We will also have a further Q&A time at the end. And if you have any specific questions about your child, please email the teachers directly. So our agenda today is we're going to introduce ourselves. We'll talk to you a little bit about what your child is currently working on. We'll go through the grade level critical areas and then talk about what learning looks like in mathematics and finish with a Q&A at the end. Let me introduce you to the middle school mathematics department.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Cornwell. I teach grade 6 math. I've been at AES, this is my 3rd year, and I'm excited to be here.
Hello parents, my name is Philip Kutsia. I'll be teaching 6th grade math with Ms. Cornwell. I am new to AES and we are coming from China.
Hi, my name is Sheena Nagia and I am teaching 7th grade math this year. This is my 4th year at AES. And I'm very happy to be here.
My name is Fumi Miyata, and this is my 5th year and teaching 8th grade. And I'm happy to be here too.
Hi everyone, my name is Jyotsna Tuli, and I'm the teaching assistant for math department. And this is my 15th year in the middle school math department. Nice to be here. Thank you.
In the AES middle school math department, we believe that the process and the explanation of the work are just as important as the answer. It's not just about scribbling down a number and putting a circle around it. It's about a student's ability to talk about how they came to that number, how they got that answer. The second point of our beliefs is that mistakes are essential as students learn. It's part of the reflection on mistakes that really help us learn math at a deeper level. And then we're across the grade levels, progressing from concrete to representational to abstract. So we are not a department where students just do 20 of the exact same problems. They're going from the concrete problem solving to more, how would you model this? How else could we solve this? And then students start to think about that same concept in a more abstract way.
So what are we currently working on in our math classes? So for the beginning of the year, it is important that we want to set up our classes correctly in the way that we want them to run officially, especially seeing that we're going to be online for a while maybe. And it's also important for us to give students input in how they want their classes to run. It's important that we want to get to know the students. We want to get the students to get to know us and each other. Building those relationships for us is very important, especially in the beginning of the year, so that students feel comfortable with each other and their teachers. And that also allows them to take risks in the math class, to ask questions. And then also part of that is just building our community, our math community within middle school. Yes, and that is what we are keeping ourselves busy with at the moment.
Yeah, and that's really going to lay the foundation for us to jump into our critical areas. So you'll oftentimes see Math 6 as abbreviated M6, it's just our shorthand. These are the 5 critical areas that students will be exploring, as Philip was mentioning. A high level of trust and sense of community is critical for students to be able to do this online and also in person. So the first unit, we really spend a lot of time on the introduction, getting to know you, and then we move into number sense. Number sense will take the majority of this first semester. It's in 2 different parts, but students are revisiting just rational numbers, building their understanding of that, as well as some skills around fraction, decomposition, multiples, factors, those kind of things. The second unit that we'll be studying this year is entitled Ratios and Unit Rates. It's a really fun unit. The third that we'll get to is Geometry. It's a short little unit, but it's lots of fun. The fourth unit we'll look at is Expressions, Equations, and Inequalities. And then towards the end of the year, we'll do just a little bit with Statistics and Probability.
In grade 7, we have the following critical areas. So we begin with operations with rational numbers. So we take our work on integers, on fractions, and we make decisions about whether to add, subtract, multiply, or divide based on the problem that we have to solve. We then extend our work on ratios and proportions from 6th grade and look at proportional relationships, including unit rates, and applying those to real life situations. Our work on algebra extends with expressions and linear equations and inequalities and solving those, modeling them, and finding ways to communicate our reasoning for different problems that we have to face. In geometry, we look at angle measure, we look at area, we look at volume of solids, and make decisions about how to communicate and reason with our understanding. And then finally, in probability, we touch upon sampling and probability models and investigate the variability of chance.
Welcome to 8th grade, Math 8, 8th grade math. We have 5 units that students are going to study. First one is real numbers and exponent. Students will develop the fluency and flexibility of using real numbers and exponents. Second unit and third unit is all about linear relationships. That's one of big ideas, a major topic that students are going to study. They will use a graph, equations, tables, and then also kind of word descriptions and situations to look at the linear functions and non-linear functions too. And they also study how to use equations to describe the situations, how to solve the equation to identify the quantity that they want. Second semester, we will do statistics. Students will study a shape of the histogram and the box plot. They will look at the spread and then see the standard deviations or interquartile range. And also, if there's 2 variables, and then we want to see the trend and the relationships between these 2, students will learn how to look at, how to construct scatter plot, and how to use a line of best fit to predict some quantity that they want. Lastly, geometry, we will look at the congruence and similarities, and also looking at the beautiful, one of the beautiful mathematical theorem, Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared is equal to c squares, and we will look at the proof and how we're going to apply Pythagorean theorems to solve the equations, and how the Pythagorean theorems to apply to algebra, which is leading to the trigonometry. We will look at the kind of connections to the futures too in the end of grade 8. Some uniqueness of AES math program will be like this. I can say students are all engaged in math conversation doing mathematics. You saw the pictures in each grade slides. Everybody actually doing something fun. Some students are using iPad and try to show that to the other students, explain the reasoning. Some students use a poster paper or whiteboard to show the work and then explain to others. Some students go to makerspace and then create something using mathematics that they learned. Those are the really important aspects of math that we do. We want students to learn math through discussion, exploration, investigation, and reflections. And in these activities and in these processes, students will have fun, and students will actually learn math, and they will remember the math with a good feeling. We also provide opportunity that students can try some challenge questions or problem of the week. Math count is one of famous and popular after-school activities in AES. And anyone who want to try really difficult, harder questions, anyone who want to enjoy math, they are all welcome. We are actually doing great job doing team round in math count competition. We got third place, and individually, some students get first and third places. Besides these competitions, I want to open the door for everyone who want to do math. So if you are interested in math, and you're welcome to my classroom, and let's have fun doing some challenge questions.
One of our favorite nights of the year is annual family math night. Families come together to problem solve, to collaborate, to discuss, share ideas, and really experience what it feels like to be in a math class at AES. We have such fun, innovative ideas, and it is really an event that we look forward to every year. Stay tuned for more information about our annual family math night. Thank you for your attention. We're now going to offer the time for questions and answers.
Good evening, parents. Thank you to the math team. We are all here to answer your questions right now. So if you do have any, please feel free to post them in the Q&A section. We have a couple coming in right now. We have a math count question. Will math count be an after-school activity this semester? Fumi, I'm not sure if you can answer that one. I have some very general information. Is there anything specific you'd like to share first, Fumi or Sheena, Caitlin?
Yeah, math counts is, we're in the process of organizing that. There is a possibility for that to be online at the moment. So we're in the process of registering for that. And there should be more information as soon as we get that all rolling. But it would be online. It'd be the first time that we've done it online as well. So we're not sure in the total process, but we'll let you know as soon as possible.
Yes, and we'll be doing that with the other AVX schools, where all three schools, Chennai, Mumbai and Delhi, are all working on ways that we can. That's one of our after-school activities that we're hoping to connect students with. So we're pretty excited about that one. Thank you, Sheena. Let's see, we've got a few other questions coming in. Thank you. There's a question around initial assessment of math skills as the year begins. Anyone, I'm going to turn over to anyone of the math teachers there if you'd like to take that one.
Assessment, what we are doing mainly is a lot of formative assessment, and especially as we have such a short amount of time as we would do in a normal class situation, we're now doing a lot more of formative assessment. So there'll be a regular feedback for students and opportunities to reflect on work and to check on work. So no initial assessment, but mainly formative, and then eventually summative assessments. We'll have to discuss how that might go about. So yeah, there's no initial assessment at the beginning.
Thanks, Sheena. And I think there's something similar, a question around limitations of face-to-face and how are we planning to have tests? And I think what we're talking about there is just generally how are we assessing students, because I know not everything relies on tests in math. So maybe you can just talk a little bit about assessment in math in general and maybe how you're managing that right now.
Well, I can speak to the 6th grade math experience. Students for this first unit will be doing more of an individual project. It's challenging. I mean, just to be completely frank, it's challenging to assess students and to see what they know, what they can do when their connection to us is a piece of technology that has a world of information. So we've, as a team, are working together to come up with some creative ways of assessing and seeing how students are really understanding the content. So I can say that for the first unit in grade 6 math, students will be coming up with a recipe book. We're really looking at fractions, how to multiply, divide, group, deconstruct fractions. And so being able to adapt recipes, students using their personal interests in choosing the recipes and then adapting that, that will be the summative assessment for the first unit. And I'm sure 7th and 8th grade are similarly creative and adapted summative assessments. I can also answer the 6th grade. There's a question about kind of online tools. And I know that if your student was at AES for 5th grade, they really monitored their own progress, and teachers were monitoring progress using MobyMax. MobyMax, to my knowledge, starts to phase out in terms of grade 6 standards, grade 7 standards, and grade 8 standards. So we do turn more to tools like Khan Academy, and students are able to get real-time feedback with the correctness or mistakes in their works. That's a challenge because that's not really how we assess and how we ground our conversations in class. But in terms of students doing work asynchronously, Khan Academy in grade 6 is a tool that we will use, but there won't be a progress monitoring app similar to MobyMax, just because we're working on multi-layered and more complex topics that MobyMax, it's kind of at the boundary of that tool.
And Caitlin, would it be fair to say, specifically for 6th grade math, that some of those tools like Khan Academy are great for more procedural sort of practice, but perhaps don't get into some of the more conceptual? So it offers one of the avenues of math learning, but perhaps doesn't cross all of those boundaries.
Yeah, thanks, Anthea, for saying that, because I think that that's critical, and that's what you'll see blended into our synchronous Zoom classes. You'll see more of an exploration, and then within tools like Khan Academy that are far more procedural, that it's relooping some of those skills, but we're really trying to allow students, our MO, our way of teaching math is far more exploratory and conversation and collaboration based. So while we have this current limitation of technology or living and interacting through technology, allows us to support students with procedural fluency, is going to be paired with what we're doing in class.
Thanks, Caitlin. There was a general question I can just take on map tests. I think at the end of last year, NWEA had pulled back from doing map tests. They may reevaluate that, but at this point we're not doing anything with map testing. And once we get a bit more information on that, we may proceed with a different format for that. I'm looking to see what else do we have. Grade 6. I think the question is, a lot of the questions for you, Caitlin. Lucky Caitlin.
I know, I feel very special. Philip and I are highlighting.
To get a holiday.
Event. Yeah.
We might pick on Philip though, he's new.
So the question is specifically around the Math 6 statistics topic and what we'll be exploring. So we are working with a math consultant, and we're working along our vertical alignment to make sure that students have time and focus to explore the topics that are really critical for their success down the line. And part of that conversation is looking at our units and making sure that we spend time on the critical areas, and that we, and we're not only working with a consultant, we're working with our other math teachers, we're working with our high school teachers, but we're also using nationally and internationally recognized recommendations in terms of what units are okay to kind of fast forward or use in a more re-looped setting, kind of weave them into other units. And statistics is one of those that isn't at the grade 6 level marked as a critical area. So it's going to be very, not superficial, but it's going to be a shallow engagement, and it will be the last unit of this year. So making sure that students are prepared for the work that they're going to be asked to do in 7th grade and 8th grade, but it's going to not be a deep dive into statistics.
Thanks, Caitlin. I'm going to ask Sheena, actually, I'm going to put her a bit on the spot because Sheena did a lot of work with Emma Anderson, who is, I would have to say, one of the biggest, I think, almost global consultants when it comes to math and our program. Many schools use her expertise, but Sheena did work with her over the summer, and there's a question around summer slide in math or any kind of learning, really, and measures or revision. So Sheena, is there something that you gleaned from working with Emma over your break, or anything else you'd like to share with us about that one?
Yeah, definitely. One thing that we're definitely going to be working on is making sure we're still teaching our students at grade level. So in 7th grade, I'm still going to teach them the grade 7 content and then give them a task to do, and then really delve into what does each child understand, what does each child not understand, and then kind of tackle the gaps that might lie there. So really targeting hitting grade level with assessments, tasks, classwork, homework, those kind of things, in order to be able to see where we can maybe build up or push forward or extend the learning so that students don't feel that there is a huge gap from what happened since we went into online learning. So we are choosing assignments, we're choosing tasks, we're making sure our class online learning experience is fruitful and deep enough and rich that students really do get a full and deep understanding of the concepts.
Thanks, Sheena. And then we have another question around, I think it's another tool, IXL, which is another tool for more procedural skill-based practice. Do any one of you want to talk a bit more about that one? I think we've only got time sort of for this question, maybe one more before we need to wrap it up. So.
Yeah, we don't use IXL as a practice tool. We maybe say, I think because you only get like 20 minutes free time to do that. So we don't use it as a practice tool. We do encourage it at home, use at home, but we don't use it in our lessons or in our classes.
Thanks, Sheena.
There aren't any open questions, but can I offer one piece of advice that I think that are, that's probably on the forefront of all families' minds, which is that we're expecting, or some of us might be expecting, that the world has moved forward as our students are in these special circumstances. We are moving a little more slowly. We are taking things, we are working really hard to make sure that every student is included, that every student feels at home in the math classroom, that math is not a scary place, and your children are not falling behind as we're doing that. That is a critical step in the progress that we know that they will make this year. And so the best thing that families can do to support us as we work on that in our Zoom calls is to support your child's efforts, to ask them questions, to integrate math as a conversation, a part of your conversation, not just as something that they sit in front of a tool and do. I think the more that we can weave mathematical fluency and language into our everyday lives, our students are going to see that math is a language and a tool for life, not just something that good students do on paper or having the right answer. That it's a process, it's a conversation, and supporting your children as they are wherever they are in that process.
Thank you, Caitlin. That was a very nice way to sum up and I think wrap up our session tonight. So I appreciate that. To our math team, thank you. We appreciate you putting this together for us. Parents, we have 2 more webinars, which many of you will be attending. So we're going to have to sign off now and prepare for our next one. And we'll see you in our, I think it's World Languages next, is it, Ms. Mack?
Yeah, can I just mention that this presentation will be shared with all the parents at the weekly, and our weekly communication will be sharing all the recordings of all the presentations. That was the last question, so just thought I'd mention that.
Thank you, Serena. And we'll see many of you in the next session. Thank you.